He knocked me over. I landed on the dog bowl.
This one's wife. She sold out, and yes, it was fixed. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. One of the advantages of watching my videos is that I'm able to tell you in a way that nobody else can as to why this one's wife does as she does. What's going on when she says the things that she says, what's actually happening with regard to her behaviours. It allows you to get rid of misunderstandings about what drives her behaviour. It allows you answers, proper answers, to the questions about what's driving the way that she conducts herself. I've explained to you before that much of what the narcissist presents to the world is an illusion, and it's no different with this one's wife. Yes, there are narcissists that are good-looking, genuinely good-looking, talented, charismatic, competent, and able. And their narcissism harnesses these things to aid them in the pursuit of the prime aims. But for many narcissists, they don't have those advantages, and therefore they have to be manufactured. And this is what the narcissism does, through the telling of lies, the revisions of history, the future faking, the creation of an illusion, of mirroring you, your likes and your dislikes, of flattering you, of presenting the narcissist in a particular way to make them more attractive, to talk about their success, to boast about what they do for a living when it's not true, to make it seem like they've got more friends than they actually have, to talk about places that they've visited, for instance, going backpacking in France. Such things are done by the narcissism to ensure that the narcissist construct is as scintillating and enticing as possible, which then aids in controlling people by drawing them in, drawing fuel from them, gaining those character traits and residual benefits. And like any other narcissist, and perhaps even more so with this one's wife, because essentially she's got moderate looks which are fading, and she was just a mediocre jobbing actress, it's highly necessary for her narcissism to exaggerate and embellish, improve, and highlight in a manner which makes her seem more than she actually is. The problem she has is that, as I've explained previously, as a consequence of her overexposure, the lies are seen through, the embellishments are cut down, the porky pies are identified, the revisions of history are pointed out. And no matter how often her narcissism tries to elevate her, with or without mint, she's knocked back down to earth as a consequence of people unearthing the actuality of who she is and what she has done. This one's wife has just launched asever.com, her new lifestyle brand. It went live yesterday. And one of the things that she's keen for you to know is not only how wonderful her products are, which is why you've had the near incessant Instagram tsunami, where she's been ensuring that you know about the products and that other people have been used to highlight the products, because she isn't willing to spend anything on advertising, and it certainly seems like Netflix aren't bothered either. So she's wanting you to see how wonderful these products all are, but also she needs to demonstrate that this business is a success. And as I remarked to somebody I was speaking to yesterday in consultation, because the topic of this one's wife came up, I said she'll have to make it seem like the products have sold out in order to create the image of success, to create the image of exclusivity, to generate FOMO, fear of missing out amongst people. I need to go and buy the products because they're selling like the proverbial hot cakes. Well, predictably enough, this one's wife then went to Instagram crowing about the fact that her products had sold out in less than an hour. And equally unsurprisingly, this prompted people to point out, well, it's highly likely that she only had a small run of products, so she could claim that the products had sold out, and in the circumstances, that would then mean she could then turn around and say, I am a raging business success. Look at me. The world loves me. I've sold out of all my products. Of course, she doesn't mention any numbers. She just says, we are sold out. However, As I've just explained, the narcissist creates the illusion, and it's no surprise to learn that in relation to this one's wife, she's fixed it in order to cause there to be a sellout when, in actual fact, there hasn't been that much interest in her website, and there's been a reduced availability to get to that point of being able to crow that she's sold out. So she hasn't told a lie. She does appear to have sold out. We don't know who's bought the products, whether it's a case that Harry was tasked with buying as many as he could and they're now sat in a garage that will join the E.T. video game in the desert at some point, or whether people have actually been purchasing them, but there weren't very many to purchase in the beginning. And the fact is that in order to create this image of success, there has been a limited line, a limited availability. So then when people have bought it, she can then turn around and say, look, it's sold out. How do we know? Well, two sources in that regard. As you can see, that a section of The Cut reports, in a triumphant Instagram post, boasting grandiosity, this one's wife shared that As Ever sold out of all its products, which includes jam, no, spread, teas, honey, a crepe mix, a shortbread cookie mix, and yes, edible flowers, in less than an hour. An Instagram post on the brand's page even stated that there were limited quantities for each seasonal drop, which might explain why the jam flew off the shelf. Maybe having low inventory to make demand look huge is one of the titular confessions in this one's wife's upcoming podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder. So Cut outs her as having engaged in this behaviour to make it seem like she has sold out, when in actual fact what has happened is that there has been, as described, a limited inventory for the purposes of making it seem like she has achieved this sellout. And Cut confirmed that. So while she can boast about selling out, the fact is she didn't have that much available, and so for somebody who is internationally known, whereby the sugars have been getting their shekels together, it's not really a surprise to find out that if she's only got 20 or 50 of each item, that they've all sold out. This is a blatant and transparent attempt to create more interest and to make the products seem far more in demand than they actually are. What would be more interesting is if some actual sales information was released. But it doesn't end there. Some undercover work has been undertaken by a poster to the subreddit thread, Saint This One's Wife. They use a full name, as you know, I do not. And I thought that it was only fair that this individual's investigative work got more of an airing, because it is rather instructive as to what this one's wife has been doing. The poster is called Agitated Dark 8696, and another poster called Hermes Blanket has brought their detective work to the attention of people on this subreddit, and I thought it was only right that it received a wider audience. What has happened is that Agitated Dark undertook some research and found this. The first graph that you can see shows information from Google Trends. The time is before 10 a.m., assuming Eastern Standard Time, and it shows that there was no interaction whatsoever with asever.com. None. There wasn't one person checking to see when the products might be available. There's nobody refreshing the page over and over again, waiting, which is rather strange. Then, at 10 a.m., when the products went live, it instantly spiked to 100%. That would make it seem as if everyone who was interested knew the exact minute that they could purchase things. In other words, that it was orchestrated so that all of these people were primed and armed to make the purchases. What then happened was that not only by 10:08 a.m. was everything sold out, but then there were 0 clicks to asever.com from that point forward, meaning that supposedly everyone who was interested knew at this point that everything had sold out, and they stopped going to the site. As Agitated Dark points out, this is rather strange. Wouldn't people who were interested have been checking here and there throughout the morning in anticipation? And then, oddly, no one tried after that? No one attempted to visit the site? It's all rather strange and makes it seem as if it is the case that it was orchestrated. I am aware also from a number of my viewers who went to the site explained that the products showed us coming soon or available shortly and then immediately went to sold out, in that you weren't able to buy them, which furthermore supports the fact that there was a limited amount of availability and that she had organised for a number of people to all make purchases as soon as it went live to make it look like it had sold out. The investigative work by Agitated Dark, by looking at the Google Trends, supports that that must have been the case, that nobody was interested before. There was a sudden surge in activity as those had been primed, all went dashing to the site, made the purchases, sold out status was achieved, and then nobody went again. It demonstrates that this has been set up, that this one's wife has clearly organised, as described by the cut, to have a limited availability to begin with, and then she is organised for people to make the purchases so that it makes her look like she's really popular. It's this kind of illusion generation that the narcissist frequently engages in that comes as no surprise for this one's wife, and naturally is done in order to assert control over people by saying, look, I am a success, I'm not a flop, because so many people suggested that she would do. They regularly call her mega flop. To draw fuel by way of people congratulating her for doing so well, even though she sat in a garage on her own, and furthermore, to make a bit of money. But she's going to be a long, long way from becoming a billionaire if she's just engaging in limited drops of this nature. Yes, she sold out, but once again, she's been found out as she sought to fix the outcome. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.